Most people treat the oil cap on their engine like it's a sacred commandment. It says 0W-20, so you buy 0W-20. You don't ask questions. But what if I told you that in some conditions, the very conditions you drive in every day, following that cap could actually be the reason your engine doesn't make it to 200,000 miles? Today, we are ending the debate. We are pitting the three heavyweights of the automotive world, 0W-20, 5W-30, and 5W-40 against each other. We're going beyond the marketing fluff and looking at cold start flow, high-temperature shear strength, and the controversial reason why your manufacturer might be lying to you about what your car actually needs. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which viscosity is a winner for your specific climate and driving style, and why the wrong oil might actually be the right choice. Section 1. The viscosity myth. Before we look at the data, we have to understand what these numbers actually mean, because most people get it wrong. That W doesn't stand for weight. It stands for winter. When you look at a bottle of 5W-30, you're looking at a multi-grade oil, a shapeshifter. In the cold, it needs to act like a 5-weight oil so your oil pump can actually move it. At operating temperature, usually around 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it needs to act like a 30-weight oil. This is achieved through viscosity index improvers, polymers that expand as they get hot. Think of them like microscopic springs that stay coiled when cold but stretch out when hot to keep the oil from turning into water. But here's the catch. Those polymers can break down, and when they do, your engine is the one that pays the price. Section 2. The cold start crisis. Let's start with the first number, the 0W versus the 5W. This is arguably the most important part of the bottle for 90% of drivers. Why? Because 75% of all engine wear occurs within the first 60 seconds of turning the key. Imagine it's a freezing morning. Your oil is sitting in the bottom of the pan, thick as molasses. When you crank that engine, the metal components, your camshafts, your rod bearings, your turbocharger, are spinning at thousands of RPMs with almost zero lubrication. They are waiting for the pump to push that cold, stubborn fluid through tiny galleries the size of a needle. In our testing, the 0W-20 reaches the top of the engine nearly twice as fast as a 5W-40 in sub-zero temperatures. If you live in a climate where you're scraping ice off your windshield, a 0W-20 isn't just a recommendation, it's a lifeline. Using a 40 weight in a Canadian winter is like trying to drink a thick milkshake through a coffee stirrer. It just doesn't work, and your bearings are the ones screaming for help. Section 3. The High-Temp Shear Showdown. But now, let's flip the script. Your engine is warmed up. You're merging onto the highway, or maybe you're towing a trailer up a mountain pass in the middle of July. Now, the cold start performance doesn't matter. What matters is film thickness. Inside your engine, there's a tiny gap between the spinning crankshaft and the bearing. The only thing keeping them from touching is a microscopic layer of oil called the hydrodynamic wedge. This is where the 20-weight oil starts to lose its crown. Under extreme heat and high load, 0W-20 becomes incredibly thin. We measure this using HTHS, high temperature, high shear. In our lab comparison, the 5W-40 maintains a film thickness that is significantly more robust than the 0W-20. When the heat goes up, the 40 weight stays like a cushion, while the 20 weight starts to resemble water. If that film breaks, you get metal-on-metal contact. That's how you end up with glitter in your oil pan and a repair bill that costs more than the car. Section 4. The Cafe Conspiracy. So, if 5W-30 and 5W-40 protect better at high temperatures, why is every new car on the lot required to use 0W-20 or even 0W-16? Is it because modern engines are built with tighter tolerances? That is the biggest myth in the automotive industry. While tolerances have improved, the real reason is much more cynical. See AFE standards. Corporate Average Fuel Economy. Manufacturers are under massive pressure from the government to increase MPG across their entire fleet. A thinner oil like 0W-20 has less parasitic drag. It's easier for the engine to move, which might net the manufacturer an extra 0.5% or 1% in fuel efficiency. To a car company selling 1 million vehicles, that 1% prevents billions of dollars in fines. But to you, the owner, that 1% fuel saving might come at the cost of long-term engine protection. They only need the engine to last through the warranty period. You probably want it to last much longer. Section 5. The severe service. Secret. If you want the truth, stop looking at the oil cap and start looking at the back of the owner's manual under the severe service section. You'll be shocked to find that many manufacturers who recommend 0W-20 for normal driving actually tell you to use a 5W-30 or even a 10W-30 if you are towing, driving in hot climates, or doing high-speed police work. Why? Because they know. They know that when the stress goes up, the viscosity needs to go up with it. If you spend your day in stop-and-go traffic in Arizona or Florida, you are not a normal driver. You are a severe driver. In those conditions, a 0W-20 is operating at its absolute limit. Stepping up to a 5W-30 gives you a safety margin that the factory recommendation simply doesn't provide. Section 6. The modern GDI factor. There's one more variable we have to discuss. Gasoline direct injection, or GDI. Most modern engines spray fuel directly into the cylinder. This leads to something called fuel dilution, where raw gasoline seeps past the piston rings and mixes with your oil. Gasoline is a solvent. It thins your oil out even further. If you start with a 0W-20 and you get 5% fuel dilution, you are now effectively running a 0W-12 or a 0W-8 oil. That is dangerously thin. By using a 5W-30 or a 5W-40, you are essentially pre-protecting your engine. Even if a little fuel gets in there and thins it out, you're still left with enough viscosity to keep the metal parts separated. The final verdict. So, who is the clear winner? After all the testing and the data, the answer isn't a single bottle, it's a strategy. If you drive a modern hybrid or a commuter car in a freezing climate and you value every penny at the gas pump, 0W-20 is your winner. It's designed for that environment. If you want the best all-arounder for a car that sees both summer heat and winter cold, the crown goes to 5W-30. It is the Goldilocks of oil. It flows well enough for most starts and offers a much stronger shield when you're pushing the engine hard. But if you have a turbocharged engine, a high-mileage vehicle that's starting to burn oil, or you live in a place where the asphalt melts in July, the winner is 5W-40. The peace of mind and the massive increase in film thickness far outweigh the tiny hit you might take in fuel economy. Stop treating your oil cap like a law and start treating it like a baseline. Understand your climate, understand your driving style, and give your engine the thickness it needs to survive.